Hi everyone, thank you for joining me. I want to make a serious video this evening, and I want to make a video on how to address hate and how to address negative comments. And the thing that's really sparked this off for me tonight is that I was out and about walking in Glastonbury this evening, and I was actually the victim of some um, verbal homophobic abuse. It's not the first time this has happened to me, and I'm sure it's not the last time it's going to happen. But I'm a grown man, I'm 35 years old, and this kind of thing is very unpleasant. But over the years, I've developed certain skills and strategies to deal with this kind of thing. You know, I am who I am. I want to be able to keep living my life. So if I fall apart every time something like this happens, then it's not effective. I would spend a lot of time doing this kind of thing. So especially, I think this is aimed at people who deviate from the norm in some way and have experienced this or worry about experiencing it. If you are different from the norm, okay, if you're different because of your sexual orientation or gender identity or your race or your weight or the clothes that you wear or whatever reason it is, then sooner or later you're going to run into someone who's bigoted, who doesn't like that about you, and who feels entitled to harass you over it. Um, that can be very difficult to deal with, but we do live on a planet where unfortunately people have egos, and a lot of people will try and build themselves up by putting other people down. So the first thing that you've got to realize is there's absolutely nothing wrong with you. You were created the way you are for a reason. You're perfect in spiritual truth. And just because the local bigot down the street thinks there's something wrong with you doesn't make it true. So that can be difficult to accept, especially if you've grown up without a particular faith or the environment is really, really hateful and there's constant reinforcement that there is something wrong with you. That can be difficult to believe, but just realize that you're not alone in this, and there are millions of other people who've experienced the same thing, including myself, and because you're different doesn't mean there's anything wrong with you. Okay, there isn't. You're perfect the way you are. The second thing about this is try not to generalize and lose faith in humanity as a whole. People do have egos and they manifest themselves in different ways, and some people will abuse you verbally or physically because they feel threatened or they want to feel better themselves. That doesn't mean all people are bad, and the best outcome is that you go through this kind of thing with your heart open. Okay? So don't try and resent these people. Try and think of them as sick people who need help as well, who aren't particularly happy in themselves, and pity them rather than resent them. Because when you're actively resenting them, you're, as they say in the 12 steps, you're drinking the poison and waiting for the other person to die. It won't make a difference to them, whether you hate them or not. Now, if you look at this another way, when people act out towards you in this way, it can be a help because you're weeding out people out of your life who have no business being in your life. These kind of negative people, you don't have to exercise a lot of judgment and discernment there. By saying the things they're saying, they're kind of exiting your life by themselves. So you can say, thank you, goodbye, you're not going to be part of my life, and I really haven't had to work very hard to make that happen. My personal way of dealing with this kind of thing, whether it's homophobic abuse or whether it's online abuse, because people online often feel that they can really say anything they want and it doesn't affect the person on the other side. It does affect the person on the other side, but my usual way of dealing with it, and it's interesting because if I use my normal technique here, I wouldn't be making this video, but my usual way is not to confront the actual people. So when someone calls me a name or hurls something at me, I don't go up to that person and confront them and say, what do you think you're saying? Do you want to fight? That kind of thing. I don't do that for a number of reasons. One, you're not going to change that person's view anyway. If I go up to the person who just called me a name and have a big argument or a fight with them, that won't fundamentally change their beliefs. It's not my job to change their beliefs or try and change their beliefs. And to be honest, I think no one can change beliefs for you anyway. They have to be changed from within. Secondly, when you connect with negative energy like that and you engage in the process, you create a bond between you and that perpetrator, you and that other person. You become closer. You're brought closer together. And there's a spiritual link. And by walking away from it, you're not connecting with that other person more strongly. Okay? So if it's something like a verbal situation where you're not threatened or you're not at any real risk, and any situation where you really have a choice and you're not in any harm's way, then I would suggest not to confront it and to walk away. Obviously, if you are being genuinely physically threatened or this is having a genuinely harmful effect on your life, then follow it up with the right authorities. Report it, make sure that it's followed up. But unless the effect on your life is so negative that you have to go through all of that, then personally, I don't do that. The next thing is to let go of the resentment. Okay? If you actively hate that person afterwards, you are pouring a lot of energy into it, and you can really create something that has no business being in your life. Remember, you've done nothing wrong. All you've done is be yourself, and by resenting that other person, you're really regurgitating the anger and feeding it. So the best way for me that I've discovered in my life to let go of resentment is to pray for that person. And you may be shrieking now just hearing that. These people just called me a name and you expect me to pray for them? Yes, I do. Because that person is listening to their ego. That's a sick person. Okay? They're trying to make themselves feel better by abusing you or by putting you down. So what you need to do is you need to just close your eyes and you need to visualize them and you need to surround them in white light and you need to pray for them that all good things happen for them in life. Because the truth is, that person is abusing you. They're sending out such negative energy that they're attracting a lot of negative energy in their life. That person who's harassing you, they will have a very difficult life. It's not going to be a happy life. And if it seems a happy life on the surface, then you're judging something by visuals and you're not actually experiencing what they feel on a day-to-day basis, how they feel in themselves. Because no happy person goes out there and abuses people because of their race or where they come from or their social class. Happy people do not do that. So they're attracting a lot of negativity into their lives anyway, so you can sit back in the warm glow, if that's what it takes, and sit back and realize that they're not creating a lot of good in their life anyway. The way to liberate yourself is to pray for them and to hope and wish only good things for them. Because then you're sending positive energy your way, and those shackles of anger that have attached themselves to your risks fall off and you're free. So that's the best way to move forward. Obviously, again, if there's some sort of physical threat, then you need to follow that up with the right agencies. But on a spiritual level, if you want to get over this kind of thing, it's by sending positivity and not getting involved in mudslinging or sending hate back or any of that kind of thing. Now, I wanted to make this video, and that's pretty much it. That's how I deal with things. I mostly ignore them because I don't want to get involved and I don't want to surround my life in negativity, and I don't want that to be the texture of my life. I want to focus on positive things, and usually if you don't feed into them, they do go away. The thing about the event tonight, I'm sure the people who said the things to me, they have moved on and they're doing something else. I'm still sitting here making a video about it, okay? So they have had a negative impact because I'm sitting here carrying this stuff and I'm making this video trying to let go of it and framing it in such a way that it's useful and helpful, okay? And then I can go on with my life and be done with it. But that's the way I would suggest you move forward with this kind of thing. And And I just want to leave you with the thought, especially if you're vulnerable, you know, if you're 15 years old and you're in a really tough environment and all you get is negativity, 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 you can change the environment to some extent. Like in my case, I've moved to Glastonbury because it's a spiritual, positive place. But even here, you will get the odd bigot. So no, it's not going to be perfect anywhere, but you can mitigate it. Okay, so I have had one event here in Glastonbury in a year. If I lived in Russia, I would probably have one a week or one a day. So you can make changes yourself to make your life better. You can also learn to develop ways of seeing this and framing this so it doesn't just kind of break your heart every time it happens. And also, you don't need to hide who you are or change who you are because of people out there. People are going to criticize you for something regardless. There will always be something that people criticize and that they pick on. So don't even start playing that game of, I'm going to change myself so I don't get picked on or bullied. That never works. So I hope that's given you something to go on. Maybe if it's just not made you feel as alone with what you go through on a day-to-day basis, then maybe that'll help. But things do get better, and you can learn to deal with these things as you get older. So I hope you have a wonderful evening, and I'll speak to you soon.